Welcome, everyone, to Life Beyond 6 Feet. I'm Damien with RKB Paranormal. This week, I'm joined by Regina, Jesse, and Cassie of PPF Investigations. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Hi.
So I'm just going to jump right in and ask, how was this team formed?
The team was originally formed by myself and my best friend, who both had an interest in the paranormal. We worked together at the time. We went on our first ghost hunt about 10 years ago. And when we came back, we were talking to coworkers about it. And Jessie just happened to work with us at that time and expressed that she had an interest in it as well. So on our next ghost hunt, she was invited and has been with us ever since. Cassie is a fairly new member. She's been on the team for a couple years. We had reached out and wanted to add to the team. She had expressed interest in joining a team, so we met up, and she's been with us ever since.
Well, there you go. So how many total is on the team?
Right now we have 4.
4? Okay.
And we're all female.
Oh, yep, I knew that, which I think is awesome. Do you ever have any guys go with you just in case, like if it's a real sketchy location, like in a sketchy part of town?
We work with a lot of different teams. We believe in para-unity. So there are times when other teams with males do come with us. So yes.
Okay. So when you went on that first paranormal investigation before you actually started your team, where was that at?
We went to the Stanley Hotel in Estes, Colorado, where Stephen King wrote The Shining.
Oh, wow. So you didn't mess around on your first one, huh?
No, not at all. And actually, we went with the guys from Ghost Adventures. It was their very last public event. So we were able to investigate with Aaron and Zach and some of the crew.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So, Jessica, when did you have your first investigation with the team?
Mine was back in, I think it was 2012. They were going to go to Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, and they were just kind of looking for people that wanted to go with them, and I'd always been interested in that, so I went ahead and went with them, and then I was just kind of hooked.
There you go. So what about you, Cassie? What was your first investigation with the team?
My first investigation would have been at an undisclosed location in Nashville.
Okay.
Due to privacy reasons, I can't tell you where.
I got you.
But it was very interesting. I had never worked with a team before. I'd ghost hunted on my own, but had never done it with other people. So it was definitely interesting to see everybody working together, and I absolutely loved it.
Well, that's awesome. So I know, Regina, I know you've been involved a lot with Antoinette Hall. So how did you get involved with them?
One of my fellow paranormal friends actually found this location 5 years ago. They were actually doing a haunted house out of it. And he stopped in and asked them, if it was haunted, and they said yes. And he asked if we could come in, and he invited me to come in on a very first investigation there. After that, I was in contact with the board of directors that own the building and asked if we could continue to do ghost hunts out of there. So that lasted about 5 years. They do have it now up for sale and are not really doing the ghost hunts anymore, which kind of hurts my heart, but I understand it. So we were lucky enough to spend 5 years there as the home team.
Right. So now, was the whole team involved, or was it just you, or how did that work out?
It has been the whole team since we've started. Not all the team would be able to attend the ghost hunts. A lot of times with the private investigations, I would be the only one there kind of just holding down and there to answer questions. But whenever we would do our own events, or we would allow other teams to host events there, the whole team would be there.
Okay. So what's some of the things you guys experienced during your time in that building?
Oh my goodness. I know Cassie and Jesse have stories of their own, but for me, being there a lot by myself, I heard things, I saw things, knowing that nobody else was in the building. I can clearly remember a time where I came in and I was setting up tables and chairs, and I heard this hissing noise behind me, and I was like afraid to turn around because I was the only one in the building.
Right.
I've heard people walking around upstairs when, again, I'm the only one there. I've heard a male's voice behind me, again, say, So there was lots and lots of things, but we experienced things as a team as well.
Right. So, Cassie, what was some of the stuff you've experienced there?
Oh boy. Well, I would say the most significant would have to be as a team, we were all in the main portion of the opera house, and we were trying to find out. There's a spirit there that nobody's been able to get the name of, and we were trying to get him to say, yes, that's me, or no, it's not. And as we're, saying different names of people who have been there before, we all heard a male's voice say something out loud, even though there was no men with us. And of course, later on when we listened to the recording, it sounds like it says correct answer, but we all physically heard it out loud.
Oh wow, that's pretty wild. Jessica, what would you say would be your most wild story from that place?
I've heard definitely a lot of footsteps and things like that, but I would say the most that we get is down in the basement. When we do spirit box session, it's pretty heavy down there. It feels like someone or something is down there that doesn't want you to be. And a lot of the spirit box sessions will have a lot of growling, voices saying "get out," pretty angry voices come through, almost.
Wow, that's now when that happens, when you hear a get out, do you guys just go ahead and stop your session and just go ahead and exit the room, or do you continue?
A lot of times we'll continue. We just try to get an answer as to why. But yeah, I mean, we don't stay down there too long.
I gotcha. So speaking of Antoinette Hall, I'm sure you probably know where this next question is going. How did Conjuring Kesha get involved in, and how was that? How did that get brought up to be on that show?
I have solicited a lot of different networks to try to get the quote unquote paranormal existing shows to come out there. And those of you who are not familiar with Antoinette Hall, it needs a lot of work. It needs about $10 million for restoration. So it was my goal to try to get at least one of the paranormal shows to come out there and get it more publicized in the hopes of finding someone who would be able to donate enough money to get it restored. So upon doing that, I had a producer from Discovery reach out to me and actually reach out to one of the board of directors first. And they said, you need to talk to Regina. So they reached out to me and I gave a description of all the spirits there and what has happened. Waited for about a week and a half and got another call back. They told me that they were, doing, a new paranormal show with a celebrity host. Did not tell me who it was. About a week and a half later, they called me back and said that your location has been picked. And then they began to give details on how it was featuring the pop star Kesha. And it was based on her podcast called Kesha and the Creepies.
Okay. So how did that experience go once filming started and all that? Was it a good experience? Was it something different you've never really been through? How did that go for you guys?
For me, it was great. It was a very great experience. Kesha and her celebrity guest Betty, who were very, very pleasant, very easy to work with. The crew was very easy to work with, gave great direction. So I had 2 days of filming where Jesse and Cassie only had 1 day. But for me, it was great.
What about you guys? How did you guys enjoy working with her?
I think it was really interesting. They were really sweet. They were really interested in the history of the hall and the history altogether of that area. So I really enjoyed it.
What about you, Cassie?
I had a lot of fun. It was different than what I was expecting, but it was definitely something on the bucket list.
Right.
But I definitely enjoyed myself. Everyone was very nice. And I was actually very excited to see how excited Kesha and everybody that came with her were about the place. It made me very happy.
That's good. That's good. And my wife and I have watched all the episodes, and that was personally my favorite episode. Because I've been to Brushy Mountain numerous times, so I kind of knew what to expect there, and I was just real intrigued when I seen it was announced she was going to be at Antoinette, and that was the one episode I felt like she didn't come across as over dramatic. Um, I know sometimes when you're dealing with people that's on TV, they kind of over dramatize a little bit because more or less sometimes you're just told to do that. And I didn't feel like in that episode she was that way. She was more down. She seemed more down to earth, more calm, and stuff like that. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think not to be biased just because we're in this episode, but I think that our episode has a really good story to tell, and they pieced it together.
Absolutely.
They pieced it together really, really well. I was very happy with it. I've seen all 6 episodes as well, and I just feel that our episode, told a better story than some of the others.
Right, right. So this convention we got going coming up in a couple of months. Let's talk about that for a minute. Whose initial idea was it to get this con going, and the idea behind the whole I've lost my train of thought. See
All
it.
the time.
What was the initial idea behind the cause for it? Donating to a senior dog center and stuff like that. How did this all get going? How did the ball get rolling?
Well, we as PPF Investigations have held a Paracon several years ago, actually at Antoinette Hall. It was small. It's kind of hard to get people down there just because of where Pulaski is. It's a small town. But we did host one there. So it had always been a goal of ours to do that again, but we just wanted it on a bigger scale. So when we met Medics for Paranormal, we had briefly talked about doing it with them, kind of in passing, as they were doing an event at Antoinette Hall of their own. So after they got finished with that, I reached out and I was like, "Do you guys really want to do this?" And they said, "Yeah, I think we do." So when we got together, we thought it would be a great way to not only showcase the paranormal, but to give back to the community. So Medics for Paranormal picked the Senior Dogs location or center to donate to, as one of their members is very, very passionate about animals, and that's where they decided to donate. And then our passion is to restore and help historic locations. So we've known Jack Brewer for a long time. He owns the Old Raleigh Cemetery in Memphis. It is all self-owned. He relies on donations and does ghost hunts out of there to raise money to help him preserve the cemetery. And it is the oldest cemetery in Memphis. So we decided that we would give our portion of the money to him to help his location.
And see, I think that's awesome. It's for 2 great causes, not just one. And for anybody listening, this convention is going to be, what is it, October 22nd?
Yes.
And it's in Lebanon, Tennessee at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. And of course, PPF is going to be there. Medics for Paranormal is going to be there. My team, RKB Paranormal, is going to be there. Our past guest, Eric Freeman Sims, is going to be there. Just a lot of great guests. And Mid-10 Paranormal, I've had them on. They're going to be a part of it. So it's going to be a lot of great guests and all kinds of fun. And it's our first convention, and we're super, super excited about it.
We're excited to have you and everybody else out there. And it's a great chance for people who are interested in the paranormal that live locally to come out and actually talk to local paranormal teams. A lot of the teams are over locations, so there may be a possibility to talk to them about booking an investigation, or if they have a public event, to going on a public event. And then again, of course, raise money for 2 great causes.
Right, right. Now, I want to talk about where I was at last night, the Hotel Metropolitan up in Paducah, Kentucky. How did you guys find out about this place?
I had been online researching different locations because we really I mean, we like some of the bigger locations. We like to go to some of the bigger, well-known locations. But of course, if we can always go to the smaller locations that have not been over-investigated, that's our goal. So I had come across it several years ago. They had a team that had been in there a few times, and I'm sure some, paranormal investigators here and there. So I called up Miss Betty, who is the sweetest woman in the whole world, and asked her if we could rent some rooms and do some ghost hunting. And she was very open and honest. And yeah, sure, come on. She'll tell you all her ghost stories. And from there, we've been. I think it's been 3 times. Jesse's at. I know I went. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's been twice for. I think you went with Harold's team.
Yeah, I went with another group prior to my team going. So
yeah.
Yep.
So what's some of the activity you guys captured while you were there, whether it was captured on film or audio or just personal experiences?
I'll let Jesse or Cassie go first because I've had other experiences besides what they experienced.
Your experience is probably the coolest, but for me, a lot of orb activity, and I have some on my Instagram. I think we have some on our PPF page showing some pretty interesting orb activity on our video cameras, and just feelings of not being alone, things like that. Cassie, what about you?
I think the most interesting thing that happened for me there would be the room that I slept in for the night. Nobody told me it was supposedly had the most activity. But when I got up in the morning, the metal trash can in the room was laying all the way in the middle of the floor. So I couldn't even open the door without hitting it, and it had been against the wall when I went to sleep. And since the door was closed over and locked, I don't think anybody else came into the room and moved it. So that kind of threw me off just a little bit.
Right. And what room was that? What room number?
You know what? I don't even remember anymore. I don't remember.
Hey, so what about you, Regina?
The first time that I had went there was with some other paranormal investigators, and as soon as we started putting our equipment out, it was going off. But one particular incident that everybody else was outside and I was the only one in the building, and I was standing right at the beginning of the stairwell between, that little area that's kind of a sitting area before you go up the stairs. So I was standing there on my phone, and I hear little footsteps running towards me, and I knew I was the only one there, running towards me, and stop right on the side of me. And I was like, okay, gotta go outside now. Because I was like, when that happens as a paranormal investigator, of course you're intrigued, but when you're by yourself and your brain is telling you, yeah, that just really happened, I was like, yeah, I don't want to be alone right now.
Right.
So I've heard that. I've been in the back room on the first floor where the bathroom has the shower, and in that room I have heard a male's voice mumbling. I sent you some videos of orb activity and K2 activity going off. It's just, to me, I think because it's not over investigated, that it's just a really relaxed time of environment for the spirits there, and it was their home, and they just continue to live there.
Right. And see, and that's kind of how we like to do things. We kind of like to do these places that aren't as well known. We'll do places that's more popular and stuff, but that's why I like reaching out to people I know in the field. It's like, hey, is there any places you know of that may not be well known? And that's what I did with you. And you told me about this, this hotel. I was like, I've never heard of this place, and I'm constantly scouring the internet and Facebook and just looking for new places. And I was like, how have I not come across this place? It's like an hour or 2 hours away from me.
Right.
And so, you gave me Miss Betty's information. I contacted her, and she was like, hey, you guys come on up, yada, yada. And so me and my wife went up there Friday night, just me and her. I was like, we'll just take a night to ourselves, just kind of get away for a night, just me and you.
Right.
And, so we get there, and I'm expecting somebody to stay the evening with us, at least just stay on the property. And
no, you're there by yourself. Like she hands you the keys, and you just like,
she was there. Like, here's the keys, here's the alarm code. Call me if you need me. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I'm going back home. I'm like, okay. And so when she was kind of giving us a walk through the building, she was showing us the kitchen and that bathroom that's in the kitchen, that like the handicap bathroom.
Yeah.
Like she was approaching that door and it just opens up right in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, she goes, see, she goes, I'm not normally in here at night. She goes, I don't like stuff like that. And so she kind of closed it. And after she left, me and my wife tried to debunk it because, we like to try to make
Right.
sure, it's not something natural. And so we're jumping around in front of this door and stomping around and, it's not moving. I'm like, I was like, that's pretty weird. And when we ended up going to bed that night, I'm a pretty heavy sleeper, so it has to be a significant sound to actually wake me up. And yesterday morning, my wife's like, she said, "Did you hear all that stuff last night?" I was like, I didn't hear nothing but the fan. I was like, and she goes, there was numerous times it sounded like somebody's running up and down the hallway, and they would come to our door because we stayed in room 9, the room that has the bathroom in it.
Right.
And she goes, there was numerous times I hear somebody running up and down the hallway, and it felt like they would stop at our door and just kind of look at us and then walk away because she's kind of a sensitive to some of this stuff, and so she kind of senses some of this stuff. And I was like, I didn't feel none of it. I was like, all I felt was me sleeping. And so
You guys left the door open?
we started the night with the door closed because I'm a big person that I have to sleep with the door closed. I've always been like that, and it started getting really hot in there.
Yeah.
And she's like, we got to open this door. And so I put something behind the door and opened it about halfway. And a few minutes later, she's like, we got to open it all the way. She goes, it's still too hot in here. And I was like, all right, we'll leave it open. And then last night, only one of our teammates was actually able to join us. But when we got started, it was kind of slow at first, and nothing was really happening. And I was like, well, let's play some music. And
Mhm.
so I pulled up my phone and I played a BB King song.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our SLS out and we're pointing at the room in between, I guess it's like the dining room and the kitchen, that room in the middle with the big wooden
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
We got it pointed in there, and you see this little short figure pop up and a taller one pop up. And me and Ted was on the other side of the room. My wife's like, she goes, it just mapped in 2 people. And so we walk over there, and sure enough, it's a tall one and a short one, and it looks like they're kind of just moving to the music. Like the tall one, looks like his foot's tapping, and we let the song play, and as soon as the song ends, they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, and so we played another song, a more upbeat song. I think we played like a Little Richard song. They popped back up, and the little kid looks like he was just jamming, just dancing along, and the bigger one still looked like his foot was just kind of tapping. And so that kind of started our night. And there was at one point we were kind of taking a break, so we weren't filming or anything. We was getting some drinks and snacks, and Ted walked into that kitchen. And as soon as he walked into the kitchen, he heard that door open. And he turned around, and sure enough, it was open. It kind of spooked him because last night was his first investigation with us.
Oh,
And
wow.
so he was I think it kind of spooked him a little bit. And he kind of ran through. He's like, this door just opened and stuff. I was like, all right, calm down. I was like, well, let's try to figure this out. We tried to debunk it again, and nothing. So I walked back out, and it wasn't 2 minutes later, it opened again on it. He had asked it to open the door the second time, and like right on cue, like I was at this point, I'd started filming again because like, man, if this door opens, I want to kind of be in the general area in case it happens again. And I'm in that middle room, and I'm filming the room in front of us, and I hear no, I'm walking down the hall back towards the piano, and I get right about where that little bathroom is, and I hear a clicking sound, and then I hear what sounds like a male voice, and I thought Ted was coming around because it sounded like it was in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I turn around, and he's back in the kitchen, and that's when he freaked out. Is when he told it to open it the second time. And so I come running back. He was like, and I heard the door when it opened. Like I heard the clicking whenever it opened. And we stood in that kitchen last night after that happened for like 15 minutes, just hoping it would do it one more time. And obviously it didn't. But for that to happen 3 different times, and one of the times happened like right on cue, I thought was awesome. And then we finally decided. I was like, well, let's take everything upstairs. Let's do some stuff upstairs. And we had set our REM pod up in the middle of the hallway, and like as soon as we walked away, it just starts going crazy, doing stuff we've never seen it do before. And I was like, let me just reset it and make sure it's not malfunctioning or anything, and reset it, and it's not doing anything, and then it starts doing it again. I was like, it's got to be messing up. I was like, it's just never done this before. I was like, maybe the battery's starting to die, so we changed the batteries in it and stuff, and put the new battery in, set it back up, and it starts doing the same thing. I was like, I hope this thing is like not messing up on us. We're gonna have to buy a new one because what it was doing, I've never seen it. I mean, it was lighting all the different lights up and making these different noises like I've never heard it make. I was like, it's so weird. So we just kind of left it going, and a few minutes later, I moved it down kind of closer to the bathroom, and it would start just making the random beep sound. I think when it just beeps with no lights is like when the temperature changes, right?
Yeah.
So it started doing that, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that that's what that means. And so it did that several times, and we started playing music again, and it would go off during the music was playing, and it was a fun night. And for it to be a place that we had never heard of, and only stories I knew about is what Regina had told me, so I didn't really know what to expect, and it definitely didn't disappoint. And we told Miss Betty when we left this morning that we'd like to come back, and she's like, "You guys are welcome back anytime." So it was
Jesse, remember the last time we were there when we were getting ready to leave, all the smoke detectors started going off?
Right, yeah.
We had to take the batteries out of all of them because it just like they all just went off randomly.
Yeah. Like, what is that? Like, there's no smoke, is there? Well, there's nothing wrong.
But Miss Betty said like a couple days before she had the same thing happen. They all just started going off.
yeah, I think she told us about that this morning. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty wild.
And she had changed the batteries the first time it happened, so they weren't like bad batteries or anything. So it was really odd.
Right. All right, so I know what your guys' team name stands for, and I don't know why I didn't ask this at the beginning, but what does your name stand for those who may not know?
The PPF stands for Pursuing Paranormal Facts, but there's a little bit of a backstory to it. Me and the other co-founder, Rhonda, were Pinky Pals forever, so we kind of based it on the name on that. So, Pinky Pal Forever is PPF, so then we used those initials to create the name of our team.
Oh, well, that's a different way to come up with a name. I like that. So you've all been doing this at least for a few years now. Some longer than others. So to each one of you, what is your favorite location to investigate?
I'll let them go first.
There's several that I really enjoyed and I would do again, but my favorite is St. Albans. It's a huge mental hospital. Is it Illinois?
It's in Radford, Virginia.
Virginia. I never know where we are. It's terrible. But of course we did it in it was so cold, but it was very, very interesting. And we got quite a bit there. So
all right. Cassie, what about you?
I haven't been to nearly as many locations as they have. I would say so far my favorite is probably going to be Antoinette Hall, mostly because I've had the most experiences there. But before I became part of the team, I spent a lot of time at a cemetery in Clarksville, Tennessee, and I absolutely enjoyed going there. I used to have so many pictures of stuff that I captured there, And the cemetery there itself, you can tell that, you know, that people are still hanging out. I believe the location there supposedly is haunted. From what I understand, even though it's a cemetery, there used to be a mansion there. And they believe that, I guess, some of the previous slaves owned by the owner, they believe haunt the location besides the cemetery itself. So,
Oh, wow.
but that's probably one of my favorite places to go. I can't tell you the name of the place because it's been a hot minute since I've been there, but yeah, it's in Clarksville, and I loved going there.
All right. And now, Regina, what about you?
Well, one of my favorite I love St. Albans. It is actually a great location if no one's ever been there. Mental hospitals and prisons are always my favorite just because of the energy that they produce. And actually, I had something take over my body at St. Albans. So that was one of my most scariest experiences. But one of my favorite places is in Nashville, and it is Mount Olivet Cemetery. And if you have never been, it is one of the most beautiful cemeteries that we have ever come across, because whenever we go on vacation, we always hit up a cemetery. That sounds weird, but not to us paranormal investigators.
Right.
But we have gotten a lot of activity out of Mount Olivet Cemetery. And if you have never been, I would encourage you to go.
Oh, definitely. We kind of cut our teeth, me and Josh and a couple of our friends in a cemetery in Dixon. So we're kind of big into that. We hadn't officially investigated one since we started the team, but it's on the to-do list. And I remember that was one of the places you told me about when I reached out to you. So, and now we're gonna back up a little bit because now I want to know about the St. Albans experience you were just talking about. So,
Well,
what exactly happened there?
I've been there several times. But the last time that I was there, I was with my co-founder, Rhonda, and another friend who is a paranormal investigator. And we were invited to attend a ghost hunt there that the home team was hosting. And we went into this room that's set up like a classroom. The two of them sat behind me at the little desks that were in there. And they were doing a spirit box session, and I went up to the chalkboard that was in there, and I was just doodling and drawing and not thinking anything of it. And all of a sudden it sounded like they were way far away from me, like I was in a tunnel. I could hear them, but they were far away from me. And they said that I was at the chalkboard and I was, doodling and had just stopped and was standing there. And this went on for 9 minutes and 38 seconds. And I only know that because my recorder was playing. They were doing their thing. And all of a sudden they're like, Regina. And I wasn't answering. And they're like, Regina, Regina. And they said, I turned around and my face didn't look like my face. And I didn't really respond. So they grabbed up all their equipment. And the next thing I remember was being outside and they were walking me around. So I don't recall how I got from the second floor school classroom to the outside. So the only thing I can think of is that something was trying to take over my body.
That's
It was
a wild ass story.
It was the first and only time that has ever happened to me in almost 11 years of ghost hunting.
See, I don't know what I would do in that case. I've experienced someone's emotions, like they were kind of like channeling through me. Like I went from super angry and like pissed off to like literally crying in tears in a matter of like 30 seconds.
Right.
No idea why. I never experienced that before. And I experienced that at Brushy Mountain. And I don't know what I would do if I just kind of zoned out for 10 minutes like that. I don't know how I would react to it.
It's almost like a slip in time because you've lost time and you don't know what has happened.
Right.
I did continue the investigation, but I did not go back up into that room.
Right. And so have you been in that room? Have you been back there since that happened?
I have not been back there since. But I would, if I do go back, I will face my fear and go back in there.
Oh, there you go. So I'm sure you've been to all these different amazing locations, and it sounds like you travel quite a bit to go to some of these locations. So what is each one of your guys' like top place that you want to go to before you stop doing this?
Well, for me, I experienced one of those places this year. Jesse and I, and Cassie, if she's able to, but Jesse and I um, have always tried to take at least one or two big investigative trips a year. And earlier this year, we got to investigate the Washoe Club in
Yeah.
Virginia City, Nevada.
Yeah.
So I always try to like pick a location that's on the paranormal bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Jesse has always wanted to go to Bobby Mackey's. Jesse,
The one that I do want to go to. Yeah.
and I have been very hesitant to go there, just because of the things and spirits that are there. But
Mm-hmm.
I have agreed at some point we will get there. So I don't know about Cassie where her, quote unquote dream location would be.
What about you, Cassie?
Well, I think for me, one of the places I really want to go, and I don't even know if you're allowed because I know they used to not let people there, but I've always wanted to go ghost hunting at Stonehenge.
That would be
Um,
interesting.
There's so much history and spiritual energy there from things that have happened in the past, a lot of things that they still don't understand. So I can only imagine the kind of activity there. I lived in Germany for 3 years and got to do a lot of castle hopping. And so honestly, I would just like to take a trip to Europe and hit a whole bunch of the castles. And I think that would be like bucket list times a million.
Oh, absolutely. And just overseas alone, they've been around a whole lot longer than we have over here in the U.S. So they have a whole lot more history, a whole lot more death and tragedy. So that anywhere over there, it has got to be hopping with activity. And in the Washoe Club, Regina, me and Lee's become pretty good friends. Lee from Medics for Paranormal, and when he told me you guys were going out there, I was like, man, I'm super jealous. I said, you have to let me know how it goes. And he said it was an amazing time. So,
yeah, it was an amazing experience, not only for us, but to share it with them as well. We did have not super active, but we did have some activity that, of course, always makes it worthwhile because we all know as paranormal investigators, if we go into some of these locations, we can spend hours and hours and get absolutely nothing. So
yep,
it's always a thrill to be able to have something happen.
Even if it's just one, like a good 5-second clip during that whole 8 hours, you're like, you know what, that was worth it. It was worth the time and effort. It's worth going through the evidence. So yeah, I know exactly what you mean. For me personally, my dream location has always been Trans-Allegheny. It's just so huge, and there's just so much history there, and I don't think you could probably spend an entire week there and not even scratch the surface of that place.
Jesse and I actually investigated there. Was it the year before last, Jesse?
Oh wow.
2 years ago?
Actually, yeah.
It's probably about 2 years ago. Yeah. It was amazing. We did experience some stuff there. They kind of just let you roam around by yourself, and we heard we were going to go into this one area, and we both verbally heard a hissing sound. We're like, not going down there. So, but yeah, that building, if you ever get a chance to go, it is amazing, and it is huge. And there is a vibration there that's like no other. That building is alive. It is alive with spirits.
Well, I hope to make it there one day. We since we started this team a couple of years ago, we haven't traveled too much out of like Tennessee and Kentucky. So next year we're gonna at least try to hit up one place like farther away. So I think we're gonna try to start doing that at least once a year, hit a place that's more than just a couple hours away. So we have our location for next year picked out. That's going to be about 6-7 hours away. So we're pretty hyped about that. And it's funny that you mentioned Bobby Mackey's. That's one of mine and Josh's big places we want to go. And my wife, she's like, you can go. She goes, I'm staying home during that one. And she's like, if you go, she goes, you can't come back home until you've been blessed and saged and all this other stuff. She goes, I don't want none of that stuff in my house. So
Right.
that'll be that's one of the ones that's on our list, but it's kind of down the list because she doesn't want all that stuff here at the house. I'm still trying to convince her to go. I don't think she's going to have any of it. So, but my fingers are crossed. Maybe she'll surprise me. So, what what's the purpose of you guys doing this? Everybody has their reasons behind it. What is your guys' reason to be paranormal investigators?
Again, I'll let them answer first. I don't want to dominate the conversation. So,
well, for me, I'm looking for proof. I'm the skeptic of the group, so I'm like the one that is always trying to look for, like, let me debunk this, let me see if there's any other reason for this. But there are things that have happened that definitely can't explain, but I'm still waiting on, I want like that definite proof from me. That's what I keep looking for.
Right, right. Cassie, yourself?
For me, ever since I was really small, I've always seen things and heard things, and I couldn't explain it. It took me a long time to understand that I was, sensing things that most people don't sense. And I guess it just sort of was like the mystery of it, and realizing that there was something there that did want to communicate with me that, that most people can't communicate with. And I guess for me, it's trying to get answers. Why are you here? What's happening? How are you feeling? And I guess that's the biggest reason why I do it, because I feel like an emotional connection there that, if I can actually feel and understand what they are, then, maybe I can get answers for people who need them.
There you go. So, Regina, what about you?
well, I think the obvious answer for us as paranormal investigators is why are they here? Are they stuck? Do they want to communicate? But again, each of us has our own experience that has led us down this path to be able to do this.
Right.
My personal story does involve family members, and I've always been sensitive to things, even as a child. So my goal is to allow people to not think that they're crazy because they're having stuff happen in their house or they've experienced things, but to let them know that not everything they see on TV and in Hollywood, the spirit world is not all made up evil demons walking this earth. There is a very emotional and loving side to it. And if I can bring that to somebody, of course I want to, because that's the side that we walk on. We're not gonna allow, anything malicious to hurt us or harm us when we do this. So again, if I can bring comfort to somebody, if I can bring them on an investigation and let them see what happens, let them hold the equipment and let them know that, our heads are not spinning around in the dark while we do this. We've been called everything from witches to whatever.
Yeah.
That's not what this is about. This is about communication with the other side that we know exists. And how do we break down those barriers and those walls and the things that people think about it, to be able to communicate with our loved ones on the other side.
There you go. And my answer is kind of a mixture of all that, and when somebody asks me, I simply tell them I do it because I love it. And there's a ton of questions that nobody can answer, and that's what we're trying to figure out. And like I tell people, if they're not in it for those kind of reasons that you guys just named, they shouldn't be doing this. So for the reasons alone that you said, Regina, like you want to show people and all this other stuff, and say you were approached by a network saying, "Hey, we want you guys we're giving you guys the opportunity to have your own show." What are your guys' thoughts about that? Would you ever consider something like that, or you're just like, no, that's not for me? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts are, if I was approached, then there have to be some stipulations. First and foremost, I'm not going to fake any evidence. Number two, I do want to show a different side of the paranormal, that there's different ways to communicate and different equipment and things that we can use to showcase that. So I'm not opposed to that at all. I just think that the paranormal is kind of this shows have kind of gotten stale, and there needs to be a new spin on things. To bring a new life into it, to attract people who may have a curiosity but are a little bit scared to come forward. So I'm 100% open to that.
What about you other two ladies?
I'm definitely all for it, but like Regina said, I don't approve of faking evidence. If you want people to have a respect for the paranormal and a genuine understanding, then the evidence it can't be faked. Like they need to see it for what it truly is and not what's made up. Because if that's the case, then they can just go watch a horror movie and get the same effect as opposed to what ghost hunting is really all about.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it has to be. I would love to see a show that's just honest about what investigating is. I mean, it's not all, you know, they don't just jump out of work involved. It's time consuming. It costs a lot of money. It's not, you know, something that's free to do. So you have to have a passion for it, and if we can show the passion that we have for it, I think it would be pretty interesting.
Right. And like you said, there would have to be some definite stipulations involved, and if they can't meet those requirements, then I'm going to go ahead and turn you down, and my name's not going to be on that contract. So, and like you said, the shows have pretty much all gotten pretty much the same. I mean, there's a couple that like my wife and I really enjoyed, and there's others that we watch just because we just have a passion for it, and we want to learn some, you know, sometimes they'll throw out something we've never seen before. They're like, hey, we're going to try that. Or we'll see a place we've never heard of. I'm like, well, I'm going to look into this place and see, you know. So we watch all these shows for different reasons, but there's only a couple that we like really, really enjoy.
I wish the shows would showcase how much locations cost, how much equipment costs, how much time we spend sitting in the dark doing absolutely nothing. And I realize that probably wouldn't make for great TV, but a lot of people don't realize that these shows are filmed like over 4, 5, 7 days to get 1 or 2 little EVPs. And you know, we have all invested in thousands of dollars worth of equipment and spend thousands of dollars traveling, renting, you know, bringing money into these cities that we're staying in. I wish that side was showcased, because it's not a cheap hobby. A lot of people don't realize we have to pay for locations. They think that we just get to go for free, or they pay us, and that's not the case at all, as we all know.
Oh no. And when you come across a really good deal, it's hard not to jump on it. You know, I've contacted some places that I've really wanted to go to, but they don't really advertise it very much. You have to contact them to get prices and stuff. And then when I find out the prices, I'm like, that's a little outrageous considering the amount of time you get.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
I want it to be worth the price of admission. If I'm paying $600, $700, $800, I want to be in there more than 4 hours.
Right.
So, and then, I lost my train of thought again. I forgot where I was going with that.
The locations are expensive, and that's the thing. It's almost a deterrent for smaller teams to not be able to go there, and they, you know. But what they don't understand is that we don't want to go with 30 people.
Right.
But, you know, a 3-people team or 4-person team can't really afford a $1,500 location.
Oh, no. And see, that's one thing I kind of like, or not I kind of like, I really like about the paranormal community is so many people is willing to work with each other. If you have a small team of 3 or 4, and I'm like, hey, let's contact this team, see if they want to join up with us, and everybody split the cost of stuff. So, like I know Lee said, you know, he's told me numerous times that they want to team up with us to hit up a location, and I know Eric said he's wanted to team up. So, I'm glad there's so many people that's willing to work with other teams and not just be all about themselves. I know there's some teams out there that are like that. I've interviewed a team that they said a lot of the teams that they first come in contact with were just all about themselves, didn't want to share information with them about anything. Because there's no point in that. So, and that's another thing that I think is great about you guys is you're all about helping each other and giving back to the community as a whole, not just the community itself, but the paranormal community. So, and if all teams were like you guys, I think that would be great, and there would be a whole lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't really know the word I'm looking for. I know it in my head, but I just can't think of it. But it would be a lot better if all teams looked at things like you guys did. And so far, I've been fortunate enough to come across nothing but good teams like that and good people in the community. And so I want to thank you guys for doing stuff like that and not being all about yourselves. Like I said, there's too many stingy people out there, and those kind of people are doing this. They're in this for the wrong kind of reasons. They're in it for clicks and likes and all this other stuff where, that's good and all. That means people seeing your evidence, but if that's the only reason you're doing this, then chances are you're probably, like you said, you're probably faking something. So, and we've recently tried to incorporate what people would consider the boring stuff into some of our YouTube videos because, it's not all always popping off left and right like these shows portray. And when you get that one good piece, whether it's a really good EVP or you capture something being knocked off the shelf, that's worth it in the end.
Right.
And so we've tried to incorporate some of that, what really goes on during an investigation, where most people just think, oh, it's nonstop. Where, as you guys know, it's not. So other than the convention, what do you guys have lined up for the future?
We are just trying to get to the end of the convention. Setting up a convention was a lot more work than we knew it was going to be hard, but it's a lot more work than we anticipated. So we really tried not to plan a lot to do this year until that's over with. And then once that's over with, we're coming into the holiday season, and we don't usually do a lot then either. So
right.
We're just trying to get to the finish line of the convention.
Hey, it's closer than it was yesterday. So
yes,
and like
sure.
I said, and I've started seeing the post of the shirts and stuff you guys are going to have. That's pretty cool too. So so then if nothing really planned for the rest of this year, is there anything on the docket for next year you guys are talking about?
We're looking into some locations. We're not sure yet. Of course, like I said, we try to at least do one big location a year, if not two, if we can get to it. But Jesse and I are planning a big vacation for next year. We're going to go to Alaska.
Oh,
so,
wow.
So we're just going to have to see what else we can finagle after we get finished paying for that.
Right. Now, if the convention's a huge success, would y'all consider doing it again next year?
I think we would consider doing it again. We had a lot of response and outpouring for vendors, which we were very fortunate, but we tried to make sure that we didn't duplicate any vendors except for the paranormal teams, just to give everybody a fair chance and not have rows and rows of crystals and rows
right.
of whatever. So if we're able to do it again next year, we'd like to do it on a bigger scale, of course, to bring in more vendors, to raise more money.
Right.
So it's definitely a possibility.
That's awesome. And I've tried helping recruiting some people to join in too. So
yes,
we appreciate that.
Oh yeah, like I said, it's all about, like you said, that pair of unity, and I try to help out people any way I can, whether it's by promoting something or giving them advice or saying, hey, check this place out, or hey, check out this new piece of equipment. So that's what it's all about. So if people want to look you guys up online, where can they find you guys?
We have social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. It's all under PPF Investigations. We also have a website which you can view our evidence and our EVPs and videos on. That there is a link to that on our Facebook page. So it is PPF, like Peter Frank, which is Pursuing Paranormal Facts. You can find us on any of the social media.
All right. Well, ladies, I really, really appreciate you guys coming on the show. I've been looking forward to it. Like I said, since this convention's coming up, I wanted to get you guys on before the convention to kind of help promote it and plug it a little bit. So I was hoping I could get you guys lined up and in before. I hope I can get Lee and Paula on before, but I think I have maybe one open Saturday before the convention's in. So I don't know if I'm going to get them on before the convention or not. So I'm hoping I can, but if not, it's at least I got half the team on. So
Well, we appreciate you posting it and helping us, and we look forward to seeing you there, and we hope to have a really great turnout and be able to give both of these causes a big donation.
that's all we can hope for. I know I've been telling a lot of my friends and family about it just by like over text and stuff. It's like, hey, you guys should come check this out. My team's going to be there, and then all these other great teams are going to be there. So hopefully, I can get some people out. And actually, what's really cool, I recently did a podcast about a month and a half ago, and they said that they are trying to come up because they live in North Carolina. They're like, we're going to try to come out to that convention, next month.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty cool, and they told me that the other day. So, all right, guys, I want to thank Regina, Jessica, and Cassie of PPF Investigations. Go look these ladies up, follow all their social media sites, check out their evidence, and come out to the convention in October. It's called Phantom Pulse and Historic Cause. It's going to be out in Lebanon, Tennessee at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. It's going to be a great time, and it's all for not just one, but two great causes. So, ladies, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll talk to everybody next week. Bye-bye.